Carol's making cookies and we find out why dingleberries are brown in this week's episode of The Walking Dead. It had some great character moments as well as a siege in Rainbow Six fashion. On the whole, this episode deviated greatly from the comics, but before we get ahead of ourselves, we gotta clear a few things up. Like some tainted meat, this episode is about to get spoiled, and we don't want to make you angry enough to punch walker heads, so get ready, because we're storming the walls of this week's Walking Dead. Rick gathers his council in the walls of the old church for a little battle chat. While this scene goes smoothly on paper, things run a little rockier on screen. Between the covers of Rick's speech, preparing his people for action against the Saviors goes over like gangbusters, while he explains that it will provide supplies and sustainability for his own community. However, on screen, we see Morgan stand against Rick's violent plan. After the bloody battle plan is approved by Alexandria's PTA, things diverge heavily from the comics. AMC's portrayal involved taking the fight to the Saviors, while shortly after the little powwow in the comics, the Saviors showed up to teach Alexandria who was running the show around here. Here's a few screens and panels to show you the violence in both versions. Old Coppertop packs his bags and leaves Rosita with a very rude and unfulfilling explanation for their parting ways. This scene made us a little sad, but ran pretty in line with the comics, even sharing a paraphrase line from issue 85 explaining the Big Red had thought Rosita had been the last woman on Earth, and that is no longer the case. Harsh, but in character. Abraham has some very rough edges, but he has always been a no-frills kind of guy. We also expect that this has something to do with Glenn's Bisquick pancakes, making Abraham think about finding someone to make breakfast with in the long term. Side note, Eugene's shirt was the star of this scene for us. In an episode that strayed quite a bit from the comics, we did spy a few other images that felt very homey to the comic fans. Here, we see the wooden panel graves for the fallen Alexandrians, including Jessie and her boys. We also got to see Abraham in his iconic do-rag. That said, we also got some new takes from the TV series that we are excited to see pan out. It was also great to see Carol in her comfort zone making cookies and gaining some great perspective from her new hookup, Tobin, on her role within Alexandria. And we're left wondering, what the hell is Morgan building? He apparently has an alternate plan than the SWAT efficiency of Rick's team, which leads us to the final question. Who was the lady on the radio? I really recommend she gives Maggie and Carol back. And that's that for this week's panel to screen comparison for the latest episode, taking place mostly between issues 96 through 98. We can't wait to see how things resolve over the rest of the season, so come back and check out what things look like in ink. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Walking Dead, keep it parked right here on IGN.